Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever stared down year-end financial accounting for your agricultural or fisheries co-op and felt totally overwhelmed by that mountain of paperwork, well, you are definitely not alone. But today, we're completely reframing that process. We're going to take what feels like mandatory, stressful compliance and turn it into a real story of community success. By the time we wrap up, you'll see exactly how tracking numbers on a ledger literally translates into building a stronger, more resilient cooperative right here in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the year-end harvest, move into the 4 golden accounting rules, break down the 3 allocation layers, look at some real-world cooperative scenarios, and wrap up with best practices and pitfalls to avoid. So this whole journey really breaks down into 2 distinct phases. Phase 1 is the year-end closing process. Think of this as the heavy lifting, collecting data, reconciling, and closing out those temporary accounts. Once that math is absolutely bulletproof, we cross over into Phase 2, which is the allocation of net surplus. This is the exciting part. It's where all that raw financial data transforms into actual community reward, ultimately driven by those crucial allocation decisions made by your General Assembly.
Section 1, the year-end harvest. And as you'll see, it is about way more than just paperwork.
Our ultimate goal here is something called the net surplus. Now, in the cooperative world, we don't just call this profit, because frankly, it serves a much higher purpose. It's the true, verified amount you get after all your adjustments are made, meaning it's ready to be allocated to your members and reserves. It's literally the tangible financial reward that's about to be reinvested directly back into your community. But to reach that beautiful net surplus number, cooperatives have to go through the rigorous and, let's be honest, sometimes exhausting process of finalizing records. This means accountants are busy zeroing out temporary income and expense accounts, transferring balances, and getting that final balance sheet ready. It's basically the critical act of wiping the slate clean, so you can kick off the next year fresh and, most importantly, financially accurate. Moving on to Section 2, the 4 golden accounting rules. This is our foundation. Think of these 4 sequential steps as the unbreakable laws of cooperative accounting. Step 1, complete the accrual basis. That means recognizing income when it's earned, not just when the cash actually changes hands. Step 2, make those absolutely vital adjusting entries. Step 3 is determining the final true net surplus. And finally, Step 4, close out those nominal accounts. You know, skipping even one step here doesn't just create a minor math error. It completely distorts your entire financial reality. And let's talk about those adjusting entries for a second, because they aren't just dry math. They represent real physical realities. We are literally translating the wear and tear of a tractor into depreciation. We're tracking unpaid crew wages as accrued expenses. We're taking things like crop shrinkage or uncollectible debt and turning them into hard numbers. These entries are the crucial bridge between abstract ledgers and the harsh, on-the-ground realities of farming and fishing. Which brings us to Section 3, the 3 allocation layers, or as I like to call it, the distribution waterfall. I want you to picture distribution like a 3-layered waterfall, cascading downward. Water can't reach the bottom without passing through the top first, right? Well, Layer 1 is the CDA mandatory baseline. Those are your strict legal protections. Layer 2 is your internal bylaws policy, which are the specific rules your unique cooperative created. And then Layer 3, at the very bottom of the waterfall, is the General Assembly final authority. That's the ultimate democratic power of the members, deciding exactly where the remaining surplus goes. Let's zoom in on that first, non-negotiable layer. The Cooperative Development Authority actually requires you to dedicate at least 10% of your net surplus to the General Reserve Fund. Why? Well, agriculture is unpredictable. This fund ensures you can weather a bad season or a sudden market downturn. Plus, you also have to allocate another 10% to the Education and Training Fund. Think of this as the cooperative investing in its own people, paying for workshops on modern farming techniques or fisheries management to really boost your productivity down the line. So let's see this waterfall in action with some real numbers. Imagine your co-op has a verified net surplus of 100,000 pesos. Right off the bat, the first 20,000 is securely locked away for the future, 10,000 to the General Reserve, and 10,000 for education and training. Now, after satisfying those legal safety nets, the General Assembly democratically allocates the rest. They might put 50,000 into patronage refunds and 20,000 into interest on capital. It's clear that the vast majority goes straight back to rewarding the active members. All right, Section 4, real-world cooperative scenarios, agri versus fisheries.
Now, while both types of cooperatives follow the exact same closing framework we just talked about, their day-to-day reality dictates very different adjusting entries. For instance, agricultural cooperatives have to adjust for post-harvest loss and carefully manage highly seasonal cash flows. On the flip side, fisheries cooperatives have to account for highly perishable catch spoilage, adjust for seasonal fishing bans, and calculate some pretty heavy depreciation on their vessels. The daily realities couldn't be more different, yet that solid accounting foundation holds them both perfectly steady.
And operating specifically in the BARM region adds a whole other fascinating layer of complexity. Cooperatives here often consolidate incredibly diverse activities. We're talking input sales, produce marketing, and critically unique Islamic financing models like murabaha and salam. So the year-end closing process has to ensure all of these multifaceted operations are fairly presented and fully compliant with both cooperative principles and CDA regulations. It's a big job, but a crucial one. Almost at the finish line, Section 5, Best Practices and Pitfalls. How to secure your cooperative. We have all seen the absolute nightmare of disorganized records popping up right at the finish line. Some of the most massive, audit-failing pitfalls include simply forgetting those adjusting entries, which, as we know, completely invalidates your net surplus. Another huge error is skipping those mandatory CDA minimums we discussed. But honestly, perhaps the most dangerous pitfall of all is mixing personal and cooperative funds. That is a mistake that can completely destroy the financial integrity of the whole cooperative. So instead of falling into those traps, we really want to adhere strictly to these best practices. Always complete your adjusting entries first. Have someone independently verify your net surplus calculations just to catch any simple math errors. Strictly follow that 3-layer waterfall hierarchy. And above all else, document every single General Assembly decision with official meeting minutes. Maintaining a pristine audit trail is exactly how you uphold the absolute integrity and transparency of your co-op. Because at the end of the day, this entire process boils down to one incredibly powerful truth. General Assembly approval preserves democratic member control over surplus distribution. That right there is the core principle that distinguishes cooperatives from everyday corporations. This isn't just about shuffling paperwork. It is the exact mechanism that protects your democratic right to shape the cooperative's future. Which leaves us with one final, vital question to think about as you head into your next year-end closing. How will your cooperative's democratic financial choices this year shape your community's long-term resilience tomorrow? Seriously, are you using your year-end surplus allocation just to barely survive the next season? Or are you following the rules to strategically build a stronger, more capable, and totally self-sufficient community? The numbers are in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I wish you all a very prosperous year-end harvest.